Today we're going to cover mounting your photos for entry into the Iowa State Fair Photography Salon Contest. Before we get to that, Charlie wants you to know the basics. All photos must be mounted on 11 by 14 inch foam core and at least 1/8 inch thick. The panoramic class must be mounted on 7 by 20 inch foam core and again at least 1/8 inch thick. Do not use mat board or styrene, however gator board is acceptable. For purposes of this demonstration, we're just going to talk about the foam core. Your photo can be any size up to 11 by 14 inches, but it still must be mounted on 11 by 14 inch foam core. Charlie highly recommends that your photo not be any smaller than 8 by 10 inches, because if your photo is too small, it makes it very difficult for the judges to not only see it, but it makes it difficult for them to judge it. For complete rules and your entry form, go to www.iowastatefair.org. You may have to wait for the current year to be posted. However, once it's posted, you can print it out, fill it out, and cut it in half, and then cut apart your labels. This is an example of what you're looking for. There are several options for printing and mounting. You may want to have a professional lab print and then mount it for you on foam core. Or you may want to have a lab print them and you mount them. Or you could have the lab print them and you take them to a frame shop for dry mounting. And last, you may want to print your own photos and mount them yourself. The first option is pretty easy. Talk to the lab, ask them what their requirements are, and have them print them and then mount them on the 11 by 14 inch foam core. The third option is also relatively easy in that you just take your prints to Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or a frame shop of your choice and have them dry mounted on 11 by 14 inch foam core. Most frame shops in the Des Moines area probably already are aware of the Iowa State Fair requirements, but you need to be sure you know what those requirements are before you get there. Today we're going to tackle the second option, having a lab print your photos and you mount them yourself. This is probably the most common and low-cost way to do it. How you have your photos printed is the first step. If you've cropped your photo to a size smaller than 11 by 14 because that crop best suits your photo, you can print it that size, but just remember, Charlie recommends not going below an 8 by 10 inch size. And again, no matter what size your photos are, you must mount them on 11 by 14 inch foam core. For printing my photos that are cropped smaller than 11 by 14, I prefer to print it on a full 11 by 14 inch paper, but use a white or a black border such as these. I just use Photoshop for the layout before sending it to the lab. The photo paper is 11 by 14, but in the case of the covered bridge I'm showing you now, my photo is actually only 8 by 13.5 inches. This allows me to still use the peel and stick foam core. The judges are only going to judge the photo, not the border, so I get the optimum crop for my photo, but I can take advantage of the easiest way to mount them. So let's move on to actually mounting your photos. Here's what you'll need for the first option. The 11 by 14 inch peel and stick foam core for each photo, your photos, entry tags, and double-faced tape or regular Scotch tape. We'll start with a photo that is printed on a full 11 by 14 inch paper. Here I've purchased the 11 by 14 inch peel and stick foam core from my local camera store. Christian Photo in Urbandale sells both black and white 11 by 14 inch foam core with peel and stick for about $4.50. First, check to be sure your photo is the same size as the foam core. You can just lay it down on top of the foam core and check the edges. Then you'll peel back the backing about 2 inches and then fold it down, sort of give it a good crease across the fold. You're going to lay the photo down on the bottom end and line it up. Holding the photo in place on the bottom end, lower the photo until the top end lays down on the adhesive, making sure it is still lining up with all the edges. Use a dry towel to press it firmly in place, making sure the edges are straight. Now you can let go of the bottom, lift up the photo, reach underneath, and start slowly peeling the backing off a few inches at a time, while at the same time you press down the photo with a dry cloth. Continue this process slowly until you've pulled all the backing off. Check for air bubbles, and if you see any, use the dry cloth to work them to the edge. Next, put your entry tag on the back in the upper left corner. This is very important as it tells the print handlers the correct orientation of your photo so it is judged correctly. You can put the label on using double-faced tape, making sure you get all the corners stuck down, or you can just use regular Scotch tape around all the edges of the tag. Remember, these are handled by many people over the course of the fair, several weeks actually, and a corner not stuck down could easily catch and peel off. And you don't want that. You want to be sure that you get your print judged. Moving on to the next option, which is spray mounting. Supplies that you will need: an 11 by 14 inch foam core for each photo. I recommend the pre-cut from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or your local craft store. Your photos, can of spray adhesive, 4 to 5 skewers. The bamboo skewers you'll see here I just picked up in the barbecue area of my local store. Lots of newspaper or large craft paper, your entry tags, double-faced tape or regular Scotch tape. While spray mounting is an option, the peel and stick foam core is the recommended way if you are doing it yourself. I'm using Elmer spray adhesive that is acid-free and photo-safe, and I like an elevated flat surface rather than spraying on the floor or the ground. And remember, you're spraying the back of the photo, not the foam core. So lay out your newspapers and have some set aside so that you can switch out that paper after you get done spraying each photo, so that you do not get adhesive on the face of any of your other photos. Make sure your foam core is ready before you start spraying your photo. If you're mounting a photo that's smaller than 11 by 14 inches, you should make a few pencil marks on the foam core ahead of time to make sure you get it straight and in the right position. Be sure to read and follow the directions on the label of the spray adhesive, and then lay your photo upside down on the dry newspaper or the other paper. Tack it down with a few small pieces of Scotch tape, because the air from the spray can blow the photo into the overspray area, and then you've ruined the front of your photo. You cannot enter a photo that has any adhesive exposed. You just can't. You will get that adhesive on someone else's photo. Spray the back of the photo, following the directions on the can, making sure the overspray doesn't get on the front. Allow it to dry briefly, then pick it up and flip it over, and using the skewers to keep it from touching the foam core, line it up on 2 to 3 edges of the foam core. Or if you're using pencil marks, you can get the pencil marks lined up. Then you're going to slowly lay it down, stick it down on the foam core, and you can start removing the skewers as you go from one end to the other. Use a dry cloth to keep pressing it down and remove the air bubbles. And once you've reached the other end and you've removed all the skewers, you're done. Then you can just flip it over and put the label on the back as we showed you before, and you're done, and you are almost ready to enter it at the state fair. If you have any questions at all, you can consult the full rules and guidelines found online at www.iowastatefair.org. Best of luck to you, and have fun at the Iowa State Fair.